this is Communication Hack. I'm Joshua Weiss.
And I'm Tim Jones.
And today we're going to talk a little bit more about communication hacks. This is ComHack, so that's what we do.
Yep.
In previous episodes, we hinted on a little bit, we touched base a little bit about how the medium that you use within your communication has an impact on your actual communication itself. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So in previous episodes, we talked about knowing the channel that you're using in which to communicate should alter how you communicate that message. So if I'm bringing a message orally, that's one way, and that should benefit an oral culture. But if the culture is more used to reading, then I should bring the message to them in a reading format, in a text type format.
Yeah. So the theory or the concept that we're talking about here, as you're well aware, is medium is the message. It comes from Marshall McLuhan from back in the 60s, very much ahead of his time in the concepts that he was talking about. Today, it's even more applicable than it was back then with the internet and all of the different platforms and methods to communicate. And the hack in this whole concept is understanding that what you're using to communicate, the medium that you're choosing to use to communicate something, has a very big impact on what you're actually communicating. And it's helpful to have an idea of how the medium that you're utilizing impacts that message. A simple way to kind of explain it for our viewers might be if the kids are fighting and you tell them, son, apologize to your brother. And the son says, I'm sorry. Okay, so he's said the words, I'm sorry. The message that he was trying to communicate is, I'm sorry. But he can say it like, I'm sorry, or I'm sorry, or I'm sorry. I mean, every way he says it, it's said a different way and it communicates something very differently. Even though the message that he's saying is the words, I'm sorry, the method that he communicates it obviously changes the message itself. Mm-hmm. And that same thing goes for if I communicate something to you on a marquee sign outside my church, it's going to communicate something all by itself. Regardless of what the words are on that marquee, it's communicating something all by itself, just like if it was a digital board or if it was something posted on social media, it communicates something. I know you've got some other thoughts about it. So
yeah, one of my favorite parts of the theory is how using a medium enough changes the way how you not only view the message, but also how you think about communication. So if we, being a very reading-oriented society for so long, we always thought in a very linear fashion because that was how we communicated, was from left to right. And so a lot of the logical thought and a lot of things like that of that time was very linear. And so as we moved into this new form of communication where it's everything, it's this network of communication things with Instagram and Facebook and email and texting and Twitter and all these things, we now no longer think linearly. We're moving into more of a network of thinking where I have this one thought, but it's supported by all these other experiences and all these other thoughts that I've had. So that's one of the things that I really enjoy about the...
Yeah. I think when it comes to anything that we're trying to communicate, if we've got, whether it's a church or a business meeting or, just a phone, if I walk into a meeting, whether it's with somebody in a friendship role or in a business role or a student role or a professor role, whatever the role might be, if I come in and I have my phone face up on the table, this whole experience, the medium of what just took place, is communicating something. It's a message. What I'm wearing has a message. What I'm doing with my physical body when I'm coming in and speaking to you, if my arms are folded, if my arms are in my pocket, all of that is presenting a message, whether I like it or not. So whatever I end up then saying is going to have a different tone or a different meaning. And so if I say, if you're communicating to me and I'm supposed to be listening to you, and then I'm checking my phone for the text that's coming in or for the whatever other communication that's here, and then I say to you, yeah. I might be saying yes, but I'm not really affirming what you're saying. I'm simply trying to pause or gain thoughts or act like I'm listening, but I'm not really listening. But I'm communicating something.
Yeah.
How that can be applied in our day-to-day life. I mean, that's an obvious thing. If I were to tell you, don't have your phone out while you're talking, okay, that might be giving you a point. But from a communication hack side of things, how could somebody apply where we're at here with this medium is the message concept? How can they apply this in a very practical way in their day-to-day life?
Yeah, absolutely. So when communicating like with maybe a potential job offer, or if you're reaching out to a company to ask for support or anything like that, you wouldn't want to reach out to them with like a tweet. It's like, hey, check out my resume. Or you wouldn't want to, like, if you happen to have a cell phone, you wouldn't want to text them. You would want a thought out email, because email, if that medium, is very much used in the professional world and would be viewed as a professional reaching out, a professional contact, instead of like tweeting at them or something like that. In a story from my youth, when my friends would call my family home and wanting to play with me, they'd pick up the phone and it's like, is Tim there? And my parents would kind of get riled up and like, who is this? I don't have any information from you. So for them, getting a phone call that just says, is Tim there? That's not enough for them. So they had to train my friends as to, like, when you call us, just give us your name, tell us what you want and who you're looking for, and then we can help you. So they were already training people to like kind of figure out, look, if this is the message you're trying to get, where you want to hang out with my son, then you need to present it in a way that would want us to say yes.
Yeah. I think you could also apply it with if you're trying to show a special gesture and say thank you to somebody. Saying thank you by shooting them a text is one thing, and that will communicate thank you because the words thank you are in that text. But sending a handwritten letter in the mail that's postmarked and that shows up at their house, that's going to, even if it's just the word thank you, that's going to communicate a far different message than a text that says thank you or a voicemail that says thank you. And so we know this in practice. I think this is something that's very common understanding, that you know that if you send a handwritten message versus a text message, something, it's going to communicate something differently. But understanding it as why it matters or how it matters, and then applying those thoughts in your day-to-day practice, I think that has a better impact. It's understanding the tool of communication, and by understanding it, you can better take hold of it.
Absolutely.
So this has been Communication Hack. Feel free to check us out online at communicationhack.com. I'm Joshua Weiss. You can follow me at Joshua D. Weiss.
And I'm Tim Jones. You can follow me at tljonesy_.
We'll talk to you later.